Welcome back. And so we're still staying with the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu now. But this time around, we're looking closely at the trial, since his extradition back to Nigeria in 2021. How fair has that process been? Some would say, oh, okay, let the process go through. The court has, asked that his defense should begin. So let's look at the process so far. And joining us to help us understand this is Mr. Kayode Adeluola. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria who joins us virtually. Yes, we have another Kayode on the show. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Adeluola. Perhaps you would need to unmute your device, sir. Can you hear me? All right. So we hope that we'll get that connection, correct as soon as possible. But it's a very, very critical conversation to have, particularly because of the agitation, that has colored the process, particularly with elders of the Southeast also speaking to how important it is for Nnamdi Kanu to be released, because he's a prisoner of conscience, and there hasn't been a fair treatment of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu as against how the insecurity in Nigeria's north is being handled. There's a debate as to how that process is ongoing. If Nnamdi Kanu, who amid the debate is a prisoner of conscience, can be held, why shouldn't those who are complicit in the killings of Nigerians be granted amnesty? Why should there be an argument for amnesty be granted to them? A radicalization process, of course, that Mr. Farotimi also spoke to. So how fair has this process been? Let's try this again and see if Mr. Kayode Adeluola can hear us now. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning, I can hear you now.
Brilliant. So welcome to the show. Let's look at the trial from the beginning up until this point. We know that the NMA team that was giving that charge to look through Mr. Nnamdi Kanu's health has declared that he's fit for trial, and we also know that the court has asked that his defense should begin. But help us go through from the beginning up until where we are now, and how fair would you say this trial has been so far?
Thank you. First, let us look at why Mr. Nnamdi Kanu is in court. He has charges brought against him. And let's go from the very beginning. In 2021, there were some charges brought against him, and the court ruled that he should be released, and the charges were struck out. I think the charges were dismissed. Then the federal government went on appeal, and still Nnamdi Kanu was asked to be released. Fresh charges have now been brought against him. The prosecution has presented its evidence. The defense team, led by Mr. Kanu Gabi, raised the submission saying that his client had nothing to warrant the court to ask him to come up with a defense, in no case submission. The court didn't agree with that and said Nnamdi Kanu should come up with no defense, and the trial should continue. In the midst of all that, like you said, the court has asked NMA to assess Mr. Nnamdi Kanu and determine if he was fit for trial. The NMA came out with a report saying that yes, indeed, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu is fit for trial. So where we are now is, should Mr. Nnamdi Kanu be given an opportunity to defend himself? I think yes, he should be given an opportunity to defend himself. Because essentially we have always had situations in our country where people have been crying about fair hearing, and a lot of people have said that they were not given an opportunity to be heard, or they were not given sufficient opportunity to defend themselves. in this situation, I think every Nigerian should be interested in seeing that Mr. Kanu is given an opportunity to defend himself. Now, that's speaking about the law. Then, of course, there are the other sentimental aspects of this whole matter, and there's also the political. But I'm here just to speak to you about what the position of the law is. What he's being charged for is terrorism. And if you want to determine what terrorism is, once you instill fear or threaten violence of the society or government for political or religious ends, then that will be act of terrorism. And that will be contrary to Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. So the question is Mr. Nnamdi Kanu guilty of this? It's for the court to determine that.
But the worry amid all of this, and this was expressed by our guest yesterday on the program, is that the trial, the federal government wants the trial to go through and ensure that he is jailed, and that would be counterproductive because according to the groundswell of opinion, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu is a prisoner of conscience and he's not guilty of the crimes that he's being charged with. What are your thoughts on this court of public opinion?
Well, let's face it. We cannot wish this whole scenario away. It's here with us, and so we've got to deal with it. We can decide to be legalistic about it and say the trial should go on and Mr. Nnamdi Kanu should be sentenced to terms of imprisonment or what have you. But it's important also to ask ourselves, what is the soul of the society saying? What do we really want as a people? Are there people genuinely against Mr. Nnamdi Kanu's incarceration, or are they in support of what he stands for? Then again, are there people who also are against what Mr. Nnamdi Kanu stands for and would like to see him jailed? I do not think any one of us can actually say that we have a balance. And my concern is this. I say this with all sense of responsibility. I think the leaders in the Southeast region should do a bit more in terms of being heard, in terms of the agitation, if indeed Mr. Nnamdi Kanu represents the agitation and the desire of the people of the Southeast. And unless you are an evil person, I believe you may not appreciate how an evil man feels. I'm not an evil man, so I do not exactly know how they feel. But if there are grievances, I think these grievances ought to be aired. And unless we allow that to be done, we shall have a situation where we are sweeping these things under the carpet. Do we want a Biafran state? Our constitution does not allow us to encourage secession, but there can be agitation from the topmost echelon of the society in the Southeast region. And I think that is where they can then guard those who are out there to protest and say, this is what we want, this is how we intend to achieve it. But until when we have a proper choreographed agitation, we'll have a cacophony of noise here and there, and it will, the whole essence may be lost. I think those who say that Nnamdi Kanu is a prisoner of conscience may be right, but then again, we cannot allow for people to be told to sit at home, people to be killed, people to be maimed. There has to be some organization, and let this debate start in earnest. That's my view.
And, lots of witnesses have, presented their own case, or at least their side of the story. We've had the DSS, for example, saying that no weapon was found on Mr. Nnamdi Kanu when he was arrested. Also said that he allegedly smuggled radio transmitter into the country. In fact, there was another witness of DSS that said that during the NSAS, try to link events of the NSAS to pronouncement of Nnamdi Kanu, where he made several statements calling on protesters to rise against the Nigerian state. So a lot of things are unfolding in court, and perhaps a lot of people are not following the court proceedings for a number of reasons. A lot of people can't even sit down or wait to read, the length of the stories on the court proceedings and all of that. which is why we have you here today. I recall, I think it was in 2022, the former Attorney General of Federation, Abubakar Malami, was speaking to the decision of the appeal court then to discharge and acquit Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. And the Attorney General then said that, well, he was discharged by the appeal court and not acquitted, which is why we then saw the case going on and on and on. For those who say that at least the federal government should have obeyed the appeal court, whether it was discharged or not acquitted, but at least shown obedience to that court order, do you also see the federal government dropping the ball there? Because a lot of people point to that and say, how about you obey that court order before you then implement or at least continue with the case? What are your thoughts to that?
Like you would hear a lot of people say, the law is an us. Now, I think, yes, indeed and in truth, the federal government should obey every court order. But of course, we've had situations where some of our governments and powerful individuals omit to obey court orders. But in a situation such as that of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, if he's charged for an offense, the charge is brought before the court, and then goes on to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal says he should be discharged, and then he commits a fresh offense, nothing stops the prosecution or the Minister of Justice from bringing another charge against him in respect of those new acts of terrorism which they're accusing him of. But having said that, I believe that Mr. Nnamdi Kanu should be given an opportunity to defend himself. And I have no doubt in my mind that those who are handling his defense, especially led by the most respected Mr. Kanu, will be able to couch a formidable defense for him. And it will be nice to see that at the end of the day, justice is done. Now, justice being done is in the interest of the larger society, not just for that of an individual. We cannot allow things to go haywire, and we bend rules in certain situations, and we do not. But then again, I'm quick to add that whilst you may say, yes, Mr. Kanu should go to court and defend himself, then there are people who justifiably have said, how about those who have been caught with arms? How about those who have been caught killing fellow Nigerians? How about those who have been caught maiming Nigerians? How about those who have been caught shooting at security personnel? So there has to be a balance. That's the essence of justice and the hard jurisprudence.
So let me quickly
balance in such a way that anyone who steps out of the courtroom or goes into a court will feel that what is good for the rules is also good for the Ghanaian. Indeed.
I know you have quite a busy day as senior advocate, but I want to quickly put this in as we wind down. Does it seem really hard for the federal government to release Mr. Nnamdi Kanu? I mean, you understand the process and all of the, inner workings. Would that be a tough decision for the federal government to make?
Well, I'll put it this way: when matters like this come up, it's an admixture of politics, the law, and the society. So, in what direction should we gravitate? The question is, what is the most important issue to address in the overall interests of the country? A trial has started. I would wish that this agitation prevented the trial from going on, but a trial has started. It has gone halfway. The prosecution has finished with its own case. The defense has been called upon to defend itself. Should we ask the federal government to withdraw this charge? Yes, the Attorney General has the power to enter a nullity. But if we do this now, we must be assured that we're going to have to do it again and again. If Mr. Nnamdi Kanu has good defense, I think he should be allowed to have his day in court. But if we think that the outcome itself will heat up the polity more than it will not, then there is a need for wisdom to prevail. Thank you.
So as we wind down now, just if you can do this in 60 seconds, because it's just as critical to the conversation. Yes, the Constitution frowns on secessionist agitation, but the Constitution also frowns on the killing of Nigerians. And those who are asking for balance are also asking, who takes responsibility for the death of 28 people in Nnamdi Kanu's compound back then in 2016, and Amnesty International's report of the killing of 150 Nigerians by security agents. Who is supposed to initiate this case in the spirit of justice?
Now, that's, you see, I used the word balance. Now, if there are people who have been killed, they have families, people who have been killed, they have friends, people who have been killed, they have associates as well. Now, they also, maybe they are not bold enough to come out to say so, although some of them have in the recent past, only a few days ago. The question then is, should those people be told, well, Nnamdi Kanu brought about, direct or indirectly, the killing of your own members of the family, should simply go scot-free? Then they also will feel very aggrieved and unhappy about this. And so this is a situation where we find ourselves. Either way you go, some people will feel aggrieved. So I am speaking now in terms of the law. I think Mr. Nnamdi Kanu should be allowed to have his stay in court. Thank you.
And that would be a fine place to anchor. I must thank you very much for coming on the program. We've been talking with Mr. Kayode Adeluola, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you for bringing your professional insight to this segment.
Thank you.
Yes, it's still the morning brief on Channels Television. When we return, it will be time to take a look at the planned release of water from the Oyo Dam amid, this rainy season, and predictions, of course, by NIMET. We'll be having the Commissioner for Environment in Ogun State join us to talk to us about what the people in those low-lying areas should be doing at this point in time. So stay with us, we'll be right back.